Hi, today I'm going to teach you how to get started creating a 2-point perspective drawing, making like a simple building, walkway, street in using Pixlr.com. So if you look at this example I created this in a quick tutorial I did with a student in Jigsaw one time. And so you can see how my lines like right here aren't, there's like a kink in it. It's not like perfectly straight. I'm going to show you how to make sure those are perfectly straight. I was kind of eyeballing it for time's sake, but he got the idea. So moving on, we're going to learn how to create straight lines because they're important in perspective drawing. The rules for drawing perspective on the computer are no different than rules for drawing with paper and pencil. All your lines will need to be straight. And so now we're going to learn how to do that. So if we look at this slide, before I go into the tutorial, how to make straight lines. You're going to choose a tool like the pencil or the paintbrush. I like the paintbrush because in this program, when I click, it'll put a dot and I can see the dot. With the pencil, you can't really see it. So I'll show you what I mean in a second. And then all you have to do is to make a dot, hold shift down, then you make another dot and it'll create a straight line for you. So we're going to do that first. So you can see here I made some zigzag lines too, because if you make a dot, hold shift, make another dot, it'll draw a straight line here. Then if you keep holding shift and make another dot, it'll keep making straight lines wherever you make dots. So let's see what that looks like. So if I pick a color, and then see if I pick the pencil, I just clicked and made a dot, and I just clicked and made a dot, but you can't see it. Even if I make this go up to 10, I'm clicking and making dots and you can't see it. But if I click and hold, then you can see the pencil there. I even tried it on some of these other settings and it didn't really work for me. So I'm going to undo all that. And then I'm going to try the paintbrush. Now see, the paintbrush, it'll put a dot for me. But I want to make sure that my dots are like solid lines. So I'm going to pick something like this with a hard outline. And I'm going to make some lines. So I click, I'm going to hold shift, and it makes a straight line. I'm going to click, hold shift, click again, I'm still holding shift. I'm going to click somewhere else, I'm still holding shift. So you can see how we can make all kinds of, straight lines that way. We can change colors. You can change the width of your brush up here to something else, and just depending how I click and hold, I can make all kinds of straight lines. So that's the gist of it. If you just click and you don't hold shift and you move the mouse, then it'll be more like a free-form line and it might not be straight. So if you're trying to make a building and you're like drawing like this by just moving the mouse, you can see the difference between this and if I were to hold shift and keep the line straight. And then see, now this isn't perfectly vertical. I'm going to show you how to line that up and make that perfectly vertical. That's our next slide. So we kind of learned how to make straight lines, like freeform straight lines. So now we're going to get started in how to do 2-point correctly. And you see how these lines are perfectly vertical. I'm going to show you how to do that. So creating horizontal vertical lines, this is important. You need 2 points to make a straight line. You guys probably know that from math class. So for horizontal lines, we're going to keep the y value the same for both points. And to make vertical lines, we're going to make sure the x value stays the same for both points. Now what do I mean by that? Okay, well, here's like a sample horizon line I made. Let's just look at this slide for a minute. First, we need to make a horizontal horizon line. In Pixlr, you don't get rulers. So there's a little window up here called the navigator window, and it gives you an x coordinate and a y coordinate. And that's how you can make sure your lines stay perfectly vertical or horizontal. So watch your navigator window settings. You can see the line above here that I did in red is perfectly horizontal. I did it all with red, but then I went over the vanishing points here and here with green so you could see them. So your vanishing points, you have 2 because it's 2-point perspective, 1, 2, and all your diagonal lines will go to one of these 2 points, usually both of them. So to make this line, I had to keep the Y value the same for both points. So let's go look at that. So we got our paintbrush tool and we have a color. So now with placement, I don't really want to put the horizon line like right in the middle of the paper because it creates more visual interest if it's either up a little higher or down a little lower. So it just depends if you want more sky or more ground. Let's see, I guess I'll try it up a little higher so I can have room to do like sidewalks and stuff. So I'm going to watch this Y setting right here and make sure it stays the same for both points. So I'm going to go up a little bit to create some visual interest. And then, okay, so I have 253 for that Y value. I'm going to click, and then I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to make sure this is 253 over here. So when that Y value hits 253, I'm going to click and put another dot. So now you can see I have a perfectly horizontal line. It's parallel with the top and the bottom of the screen or the window. Alright, so let's see what's next. Okay, so now the navigator window, that's the little window I was pointing to. In this example, my Y value is at 362. So I put a dot where the Y was 362, and then I came over here and put another dot. And then that's all there really is to it. So then, now we're going to start creating a building. In 2-point perspective, we see the corners of buildings and then 2 sides going back. So the first line down we make is going to be the corner of the building that is facing the viewer. In my example here, it's green. So we're going to make a line down. So to keep consistent here, I'm going to pick green. And to change a color, you have to move this to the color you want and then move this to the color too. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little thinner. I've just made my horizon line really fat so you can see it. So I'm going to put a dot anywhere up here, wherever I want the top of my building to be. So my X value is at 385. I'm going to put a dot. Then I'm going to come down and make sure that X value says 385 again. Hold shift and click. And now I have a perfectly vertical line. So the next thing we want to do is make some orthogonal lines. Okay, this is going to be the top and the bottom of your building. And they need to go back to each vanishing point. So let's see, we'll pick another color. Let's say, well, we'll go with this pink again. And I'm going to start at the top here. Now for this, I don't have to mind the values, like the X and Y coordinates, because they're diagonal lines. We also call these orthogonal lines. And they will disappear the closer they get to the vanishing points. So now, you know, we have this interesting diamond shape. So to make this look more like a building, we look at this slide. We're going to end our form now. So I'm going to make some more green lines to end the shape. And then we're going to erase the lines that we don't need. You can use the eraser to erase in straight lines as well, using the same holding shift technique. So what we're going to do first is get our green color back. And I can go anywhere on this orthogonal line, however wide I want my building. You know, if I end the form here, it'll be pretty wide. If I end it here, it'll look like a taller, skinnier building. So I'm just going to make it like split the difference here. So wherever my X is, 212. Then I'm going to hold shift and make sure it says 212 down here. 210, 211, 212. And then I hit, or I click the mouse again to make the line down. And then over here, maybe right about here, this is up to me how wide I want my building to be. So the X says 584. I'm going to click there and make sure it says 584 again down here. Hold shift and click, and I have another perfectly straight vertical line. Now if I want, I can go over these since this is all part of the building here, and maybe, you know, so you can not get confused by the colors. I just like to use different colors when I'm demonstrating. When you do your project, it'd probably be best if you used all the same color. I don't know, I guess it doesn't really matter. It's really up to you. Now what I'm going to do is erase the lines that I don't need. So I'm going to take this eraser, and I can either like freehand erase this, you know, and if I want, I could zoom in. Or what you can do too is like if I click here, and then I hold shift, and I go all the way up here, it'll erase like in a whole line for me. So that's kind of helpful. And then I can erase this horizon line in here too. And I can get a different eraser, like one with a harder edge on it, so it's not giving me that fuzzy outline. Oh, and if you do that, you can just go to edit, undo. That way I can kind of, oops, too much. There we go. So if I hold shift down, I can get rid of most of this line. Then it'll look more like a building. So this just takes time. There we go. And then you can zoom in and get all perfect in there. And then if you want, like how I messed up that line, I can go back with the paintbrush and just kind of put it on the line here and hold shift and fix that line there. So just do like little touch-ups. I like to erase the lines as I go so I don't get confused with more lines later. Actually, I probably could have made that horizon line like way thinner too. It's kind of silly being that fat. I can actually make it a little thinner if I want. Let's see, 262, 262. Yeah, let's take this down a little bit. 262. And 262. Okay, now that's looks a little neater. So we go back to here. And that's going to be the end of tutorial 1. In the next one, I'm going to show you how to add doors and windows and some details. I'm also going to show you how to color using color perspective using the gradient tool to create this sunset effect or like a blue sky. And also like on the ground, you get a sense that things are closer to you if they're brighter or darker in color closer to you, and then if they get lighter and bluer as they go back in space. So I'm going to show you how to do all that in the next demo. Okay, thanks for watching, and good luck on your project.